Welcome back everyone to 100 Days Survival Minecraft Mining Dimensions. And we are still doing some basic world exploration. It is day 24. And what we're doing here basically is we're just looking for some key specific biomes. Once I start opening up the mining dimensions, they won't be as important. But at this point in the game, I hadn't explored them and I didn't realize that. So we were looking for the Badlands that we find here, and we were looking for a desert, which, having found the jungle already, I figured they would be nearby because they generally tend to cluster together. And I did not explore this further because I kept hearing zombie sounds. So remember, I'm still not wearing a whole bunch of armor. We haven't quite gotten that far in the game. We've been playing this a little bit slower, focusing more on armor and that kind of, or focusing less on armor and more on building and gathering resources, which is the main point of this first 100 days, is gathering resources and preparing for the builds and that kind of stuff that we are going to be attempting in the second half, or in the 100 days to come. With that being said, we are going to keep moving on. Do collect a little bit of terracotta as we go along, not a whole bunch. We'll collect a lot more of this for later on builds. We don't have any builds right now that are going to have a whole bunch of terracotta in them. What I really would need right now would be more sand for any glass that we're going to be doing. So there we can see the cavern or canyon where we were coming up at. And we are trying to head on this way. And there you can see we do have an exposed mine shaft right there. We need to go explore it, but there is very obviously a spawner right there. And over here we can see where we've got an exposed cave. Bit of an interesting looking one as well. Have to come back and explore that later. Well, we step onto this side and we have another exposed cavern, and we're gonna go ahead and get that treasure along with this one. Eat real quick and get up our health before we sort some things out, making sure we've got everything we want in our inventory before we move on along. And as you can see, these Badlands are just littered with the exposed mine shafts. So in Badlands, you have like a 50% greater chance of mine shafts, but more importantly, there's going to be more mine shafts closer to the surface. So you often run into these exposed mine shafts. If you're trying to build a more surface-based experience farm based on a spawner than a cave spider spawner that you find at the surface, you're going to find in the Badlands. And you can see here where the desert meets the Badlands, and that was sort of what we were looking for. With them being two very warm tropical like biomes, they generally, even with the new updates, spawn together side by side, and so once you find one, it's usually not too difficult to find the other. We've got another cavern there, or a canyon there, with quite a bit of a drop to gather resources in if we wanted to. We are going to go ahead and do some inventory management real quick. I'm not wanting to run back to base quite yet, or to teleport back to base quite yet, so we are just doing some stacking using our bundles. We've got a ton of them. Putting them out. Now, bundles will only carry 64 items, so something that only stacks one, you're not going to want to put in a bundle too much because you're only going to be able to put one of those items in. Same with something that counts 16, instead of that being a single point on your bag count, that's going to be 4 points for each item. For a total of, if you are only having that one single stack, 16 items. And That is just an unfortunate caveat of using the bundles. I don't know if they've officially been added in game yet. I haven't seen them in general vanilla yet, as of yet. But I do know for, I believe it's the More Gems pack that adds them that I'm using. But that is their standard limitation. And I think even in the vanilla, that is their standard limitation. So being a village, we are going to go ahead and grab all of this hay. Before we move on along. Right now I'm sort of just glancing around, checking to see if we can find a desert pyramid. I'm not seeing one, and we don't want to spend a ton more time just on this specific project. Fixing our inventory yet again. Organizing all of these bundles can take a little bit more time, but it can be well worth it in the end when you've only got all of one item in a single bundle rather than having them throughout multiple ones. We are going to go ahead and grab this chest and keep going. Ooh, we've got an amethyst shard in that one. Not bad. And we are back at base to go ahead and drop everything back off. We will be sorting these later, but this chest is more of our catch-all chest. So I can just drop things in. Pressing the sorting button allows it to automatically sort it into the stacks that it should be in. And we have a golden apple up there. I can't tell if that is an enchanted golden apple or not, but I believe that is just a standard golden apple. We haven't run into any golden chests, so I don't believe we would have an enchanted golden apple quite yet. That will come along later. But so gold chests are chests that you find low down in your world. They're basically the big loot chest in the game. More along the lines of your end city loot chests than your normal standard chests that you would find throughout the world. Now you might find some enchanted. We could still find an enchanted golden apple, same rate as you would find it in the desert pyramid chest or anything like that. But it is just a lot more rare. And here we are, we're just trying to combine everything. Got a couple of bells going on, that kind of thing. Go ahead and rendering it down to the smaller size ingots rather than keeping our gold as blocks and that kind of stuff. For the moment, that will be changing later on in game as we need some more of the space. But it is easier at the moment. It is at this point in the game that I start realizing that with all of the probability chests in the world, I am going to have to start being more picky about what we pick up from the chests. I don't actively start leaving stuff behind quite yet, but we start getting to that point where I realize that at some point I am going to have to. And organization can take forever. Now the purple eyeball at the edge of that one, that is a suspicious key or suspicious eye. You add that with the key fragments. You make a friendly or an unfriendly key. You add that to the unfriendly key in a crafting table, and you make a friendly key, which will make our mimics friendly to us. They'll make them into a non-hostile mob or a neutral mob to us rather than constantly attacking us. Go ahead and fix that. So that chest will open now. And eventually I'll probably put a jack-o'-lantern or something in that corner for a better light source than just the torch that is there now, but it works as it is for the moment. I am wanting to eventually use some frog lights more in this world rather than the glowstone or pumpkins, just because to me their color is really bright. The sea lanterns I don't mind so much. The blue is a soft background, a bit of a softer color than the bright blinding gold of the glowstone or the blaring orange of the pumpkins. Could also use a resource pack, but I don't tend to use a whole bunch of those beyond what you find on vanilla tweaks. So if you know any of them, go ahead and send me them. Love to explore some of those. And we are just about done. Now that we are just about done with all of our item frame placing, I'm going to drop that on in there. Organize that one up. A couple more item frames and put them on away. And organizing this. Basically, it's an organizing that can be a little bit tedious at times. Seems like a lot at the moment, but it prevents a chest monster later on in the game. And the groupings tend to be fairly straightforward. Early game like this, when I don't have a single chest for everything, but they do get more complicated as they go on. So like that one, that symbolizes food, hence the berry. Now this one is rotten meat, so this is going to be all of the drops that you would get from hostile mobs or neutral mobs that aren't included in the food category, or can be considered, hence the spider webs also going in there. Now something like wool would go in its own case, but a lot of that would go in here. Now we're having a lot of the coral, a lot of those plants and all of that kind of stuff going in that same miscellaneous chest at the bottom, where it's sort of a catch-all chest. We don't have one specific place for it quite yet. Go ahead and make our first hostile key. And I accidentally used it on that chest, which is then why I tried moving around and finding some other stuff afterwards. Now I just put our suspicious eye in the chest, so now I've got to go find another one before I can access that chest, which means we have to go exploring some more. I've got to find some more chests, because that is the only place where I can find that suspicious eye. Otherwise, if I tried and opened that chest, rather than giving me the stuff I stored in it, it would attack me. Nope, not yet. We did go ahead and head back to base to sleep, put some of our stuff on our way, collect a few other things. Take our bed on with us this time. And transfer back to where we had been. Now we are specifically on the hunt for one of those suspicious eyes, so we are going directly after just chests at this point. Run into another mimic, and there we have one. So go ahead and drop it with the key into the crafting table, and we get a friendly key, which we can then use on this, and we can get all of our stuff on out. And now we've got a friendly mimic that will follow us around. Now, it is not classified as a chest, so my organizer will not work on it. But otherwise, it will follow us around. It can hold stuff. It's basically a mobile chest, which can be certainly helpful. Go ahead and do a couple of organizing things. Move stuff around. Now, we are parking our mimic over there, but just like a dog, you would feed the mimic steak or a cooked meat of some kind to help it recover its health. We are busy in our crafting mode, crafting up a bunch of fences and that kind of things. And what we are doing is we are making bridges. One of the mods that we have installed is Macaw's Bridges. Very helpful with what we're about to do and where we are about to be going. But first we have a couple of other things to do. Mainly our sheep pen. Placing these exactly right can be a pain sometimes, but we've got that in. And with the wheat in our offhands, basically all of these sheep will follow us. Now, unfortunately, we have a wolf running around over here. So, rather than getting sheep right there, we got a dead sheep. Because the wolf got him first. I don't know what they did to take off the wolf, but means we've got to journey a little bit farther out to get them. And there's plenty over here for us to do that. It just takes a little bit more time. And basically, this is just setting it up so that we have enough sheep for a AFK sheep farm for when we do go searching in those deep bowels of the earth for the deep dark. Set those up surrounding a shrieker, and we can stop the warden from spawning unless we actually want it to. Which I am definitely not prepared for yet, but we will get there soon. And we have gathered a couple of cows, unfortunately, as well. But that is the hazard of them both following and eating the same crop. Early game Minecraft, this included pigs as well, and so we would have our pigs following us as well, which could be a real pain. But pigs now go after carrots, which means we don't have to worry about that as much. And we do have a pillager raiding party over here that I am trying to avoid. So we are doing a little bit of interesting things to try and avoid them. They were headed straight for me, but by jumping into this hole I broke the line of sight, so they would lose their focus on me. Now again, I could just go after them and attack them, but A, I don't have a sword on me. B, I don't have a bow or arrows on me. And C, I'm not wearing any armor. So, if I had diamond level armor on, I wouldn't mind going after them with a pickaxe. Unfortunately, I don't. And so, going after them with just pickaxes is a little bit stupid. Not that eager for my first step in this world. now comes the tricky part of actually getting them all into the pen now that we have the pen built. It's a lot of moving around, especially once you get to these last two. We can close the gate, get rid of our wheat off of our offhands, and escape through the side. And we can go ahead and breed them up. And we get that advancement, parrot, and bees. Go ahead and send some of this into our chests. And with that, I am going to say thank you for watching this episode of 100 Days in Minecraft Mining Dimensions. Have a great and wonderful Minecraft day. Please like and subscribe. This is Amethyst64 signing off.